black, we're brown. Ambition, ambition. Ambition, ambition, ambition. Why are we matching today? We're wearing
Sorry.
blue. We
Are
like never
we?
wear blue. Yeah, and we're
Oh,
wearing blue.
this is my like this was like the fashion option for getting a Harris Waltz like campaign shirt, and this
Okay.
is like a little hoodie that's designed
Okay.
by someone fabulous whose name escapes me, but it's very blue and floral.
I like it.
And yeah, hey beauty. I was
Hey.
You always give me something new to giggle about, and I was giggling because like clearly you've had your nails done
Oh
because there was a
yes.
lot of fingerography, handography. They look great. They look cute.
Right? Not me becoming a whole lady at 45. People are like, you're so late. I'm like, I know. I'm just now starting to get my lashes done, my nails done. I'm like, is this what the girl's been suffering through? I mean, I don't
Yeah.
mind getting my nails done, but I'm like, it's a lot of upkeep,
Oh, I
child.
mind it. It's
Something's
so
gonna
much time.
something's gonna fall. Here's the thing, I actually like the feet because you just sit there, scroll on your phone.
You can do
chilling.
things. Yes.
Mm-hmm. On
Yeah.
nails, you'd be like, oh my God, give me my hand back.
Yeah. Well, you look gorge.
Thank you.
Gosh, listen, where I just went to therapy yesterday, and the good news is that I always have so much material to work with. And there's some things that I could just leave in the back of the closet, that are just kind of like, that's something that we need to talk about. But I'm just going to like, look at this shiny drama over here. You leaving Brown Ambition is like one of those things. And now it's like, I have been looking forward to these episodes. And BA fan, this is the first or one of a 4-part series that we're going to be doing, because I'm not letting Tiffany go, as uncomfortable as maybe it makes her feel. I don't know. I ain't let you go without a show. I'm not letting you go without a acknowledgement of the legacy that you are leaving us with. And so I guess I know how I'm feeling, which is like I ping pong between emotions all the time. But are you ready to be to look at what's next together and like really talk about the end and like face it with me? I want to hold your hand.
I mean,
I can't.
Someone actually asked me this, like, how's it going? And for the most part, I'm someone who, when big things happen, I'm pretty chill, but then I get bursts of, and I had that the other day. I don't know what happened. I don't know if I saw one of our clips and it was like hilarious or something like that. And it hit me like, wait, I'm leaving, like my brain doesn't hold things consistent. They come in, they're like, oh, like, you know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it, where it's almost like, this is how I manage. This is how I cope. Because there's a lot of big things that are like happening in general, right? And so if I hold them all like heavily, it can be very overwhelming emotionally. So I've learned to be like a little bit here, a little bit there, not disassociate necessarily. Sometimes that, but not necessarily. But like, like hold it lightly. But the other day, I don't know if it was a clip or something, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, oh my God, I got a little weepy. Like, wait. I think maybe it was a clip of us at the live show, and I was watching it and I was laughing. I was like, oh my God. And I was like, wait. So it hit me like a ton of bricks. So I'm okay. I'm sad about it, but also, I don't know. It's this weird thing because yes, I'm leaving Brown Ambition, but I'm not leaving Mandi. And I think that's the part that like doesn't feel as weird, because I think sometimes when you leave a thing, it's like, oh, I'm leaving all my work friends. And it's like, yes, but that's actually not what's happening here. So there's this weird, it's the same, but not the same,
Yeah, it'll be a more normal friendship. I guess not every friendship is like, I'll see you on the internet with thousands of people watching on Monday. Cool. Every Monday.
How are you feeling?
How am I feeling? Today I'm feeling good. I woke up, and it's not, the thing is, I could talk about how I'm feeling, but it's never just one thing that's contributing to like the swirl. I actually wrote about it to my in my newsletter yesterday, and I was trying to describe the emotional, like, sort of, not even a roller coaster, because that's sort of like one dip and then you're up. It's like I said, ever since I found out you were leaving, it
Mm.
just has felt like every emotion from inside out too, because they
Mm.
introduced some new fun ones like anxiety.
Yeah, I saw that.
Um, it's like being put in a blender and it's just
Mhm.
like bzz, bzz, every like pulse, not consistent, just like pulse, pulse. So I get these like, it really changes from time to time.
Mm.
But what I keep centering myself on is the goal, the point of everything is to go through this transition and still feel like me and Tiff are exactly as strong as we've gotten. I feel like we've worked
Mhm.
for our friendship
Mhm.
and our business partnership. I think we've worked for it, and I just want to like protect that. Okay, well, I don't want to spend too much time on the future right now, because who even knows what kind of world we're going to be in? It's not just Tiffany leaving. It's like, where's our democracy going to be? But I want to look back. And I think we have talked ad nauseum about the origin of Brown Ambition.
Mhm.
And if you guys don't know the origin story, the Cliff Notes, Cliff Notes, Spark Notes, whatever
Mhm.
version is Tiffany and I met in person for the first time at FinCon. I was actually writing about this for my book. Tiffany and I went back and I like
Mm.
I was looking at pictures, I was reading email chains, I was trying to find the blog post, and I was trying to find the article on Business Insider that I originally
Okay.
wrote,
Yes.
which is when I was first I discovered you like to myself, but I didn't meet you in person until
Mhm.
FinCon. But anyway, it wasn't that FinCon that Brown Ambition was born, but our friendship was born.
Mhm.
Our like I don't know, you just meet people, and this most recent FinCon just reminded me how you don't have that click with just everybody.
Yes.
You really don't.
No.
Um it's magical and special, and I definitely don't take it for granted, but we had that spark, that kindred spirit kind of connection. And the next year is when I started to scheme in Charlotte. In Charlotte in 2025, I saw this video of us on the finance bar bus, on Marsha's bus, getting a tour. I got to show you this clip of you, and I think it was you, Tanya, Marsha, and you were just like so silly. You're making up some song. You're
Of course.
like hamming it up for the camera, but you weren't at the time like the New York Times best-selling author. Like Budgetnista was still in its couple of years infancy.
Mhm.
Like if you can look back, what I'm curious about is back at that time as a business owner and just exploring your own business or building your business at the time.
Mhm.
Why did you say yes to Brown
To Brian.
Ambition? Do you remember?
Yeah, you.
Come
No, for
on.
real. Like honestly, because one, I didn't even know what a podcast was,
Not
and
not even
I
a little bit.
no, not really. I mean, I think I'd heard of it. I was like, yeah. Honestly, that wasn't the draw because like nobody knew podcasting is going to do what it's doing now. It wasn't the
Yeah.
draw. It was like, oh, I like her. She's fun. You want to do okay? It's almost like you say, you want to come over to my house and hang out. It's like, mm-hmm. Literally, like that was the only qualifier. I was like, not really sure what this podcast thing is, but Mandy seems really nice and cool. I like her, and sure. Meanwhile, it was
Mm.
like what a big, and literally
And
that's
you're
how I
like,
chose.
yeah, you're crazy. I can't believe
I literally had no research. I was like, sure.
no business strategy.
No, literally not at all. Because I just honestly said, what I heard was this person that I think is really great and fun and cool and nice. She's like, do you want to do a project together? And I said, okay. I said, okay to you, not necessarily to the project because we didn't have a name. I didn't know really what podcasting was. It was just, you asked me to do a project and I liked you. So I said, okay.
Yeah.
And that's literally, and it's funny because that's the same now, like I'm here, because of Mandy. And I remember because I had another friend ask before you asked me to do a podcast together.
Ooh,
And
tea.
yeah, so I'm not gonna say names because you know who she is.
Hmm.
And I said sure because at the time I thought we were really close, and I said, "Oh, that sounds cool," And like she was like, "It's like a radio show, da da da," and I said sure. And then maybe a week or so before you asked me, she dropped me, and it hurt my feelings kind of because she said, I know I said ask you if you, and to be honest, I mean, to be fair, she was honest. She said, I know I said that we should do a podcast together. But one of her friends or one of her mentors or something like that said that she shouldn't do it with me because we're too similar in the space. And
Mm.
and I don't know, she said, I don't even know, like, I can't remember the exact words, but essentially that I'm, it's competition,
Mhm.
that if we did something together. And I was like, but in my mind, I was like, that doesn't make sense because you're my friend. And what? You know what I mean? I just remember being really like, well, okay. And so when you asked me, in my mind, I was like, is she gonna drop me too? Because I like this girl too. But so when you asked me, I was like, I was really eager because I was like, okay, yes. And then we actually did it. So now I look back, I'm like, hey, girl, this could have been you, girl. No, it couldn't have been. No, she's still cool,
It
but
could, I mean, not
it couldn't
every
have been.
to me at the time, this there was this dynamic of in terms of like social media platform and you had an audience baked in, whereas I was a reporter. I wasn't the draw for the brands that I was working for Yahoo, for Business Insider. I was doing articles underneath that brand, but like there was this element of being the Kelly Rowland to Tiffany's Beyonce. And not everybody can be Kelly. Kelly is fucking phenomenal.
It's
Thank you.
phenomenal.
And I'm really proud to be a Kelly. Like, I'm really proud. It's not like, who's the difference between Kelly and Beyonce? It's not a question of like who's more talented
Mm-hmm.
or who works harder, who dances better, who has the
Mm-hmm.
better voice. It's because Kelly has on paper everything that Beyonce
Mm-hmm.
has and so much strength. And it's just about feeling, it's about being able to step beside such a bright light and not
Mm-hmm.
feel like you are being cast in shadow.
Mm.
And I mean, I'm not a saint. I will not lie and say that there weren't times when I felt like, okay, it's Brown Ambition with Tiffany and Murder.
Mm.
And who?
Oh, no.
And like feeling like, yeah, I mean, I think that I have those human feelings sometimes,
Yeah.
especially, we have a guest on and it's like, who's she at? Who that? Hi, Tiffany, you're my friend. Like, I like, and but at the same time, like, not like learning how to, I think it was one of the great lessons, as a
Mm.
friend, as a sister, as a person, greatest lessons, to be put in a position where you are side by side with someone who shines so brightly,
Mm.
undeniably, and then to be coming into my own light at the same time, but not letting
Yeah.
your light intimidate me. That
And I've
was,
just seen you like grow to this light that, that you are now. I think like the first time when it was like, yes, it was, I don't know why randomly, but we decided to go live. And I
go
think our
live.
audience could like go live on like Instagram.
Oh, we did. Oh
Yes, but
gosh.
like
Okay.
I think our normal like our Brown Ambition audience was like, oh my God, we love Mandy, blah blah blah. But when we went live on IG, I don't think people realized how freaking hilarious you were.
Oh yeah.
I remember distinctly because I remember being shocked at how many people were like, "Oh my God, Mandy!" I'm like, "Well, duh. Oh, y'all don't know Mandy because you were cracking all the jokes. Oh, everyone thinks that I'm just the silly, funny one. I'm like, hell no, And I
Mm.
think it was like then it was like I don't know, maybe it was I don't know when it was when we went live on IG together for the first time, but it cracked open this like wow, Mandy is hilarious and funny. We knew she was smart, obviously. She's a reporter, she's this and that. But like, no, no,
Mm.
no, no. And so I think that I love that because it allowed people who maybe didn't listen to the podcast to realize that, like, oh, there's two smart, hilarious, brilliant women on this podcast. And I feel like I can see it when people come up to us. I remember the first time someone came up to me was like, here's a hug for Mandy. I was like, oh, get off me. But
I
I
was so geeked when you told me that. Oh my god. I would wait when you came back from any big event or like maybe like, did anybody mention they mentioned Brand Ambition? Oh my god. Because it was
And
a
I said,
sign. I'm like, oh, we're
yes,
getting through. We're getting through.
yes.
Um, that reminds me of like the earliest days of the podcast, one of the most iconic moments. And this is when, if we were like the Saved by the Bell throwback episode at the end of the season, this is when they would like do like the little string orchestral, because I will be inserting clips. Yes, I will, Tiff. The iconic pack panty conversation, which was on episode 2 or 3, I
Oh
want to
my
say.
God. Oh my
That was one of the moments that in the beginning, I didn't know what to do with that. I,
God. I
other
can't
than like just, I was like, is this what Brown Ambition?
believe it. Because we were just Oh my god!
Well,
If
don't
y'all
say
haven't
we
heard,
because no, I think you made it so safe. You made me feel so safe just to bring that level of authenticity because you would always take it to 100.
yeah, I would. I'd be like, and then
And
I remember asking Mandy, like, because I don't know. I think I was saying like, I don't. What do people do for like? What do women do for underwear? Because like mine just keep falling apart or whatever. And it never occurred to me that people were not buying their underwear like they're 10 years old from Target in a pack. And Mandy's like, "Are you still wearing pack panties?" I'm like, "Wait, are you not?" And she was like, "Girl, if you don't take your behind down to TJ Maxx or Marshalls and get you
no, no,
some
no, no.
individual or
A little bit
or
nicer than that. There's
but
all
I just
kinds.
I know, but I was just I don't know why it never occurred to me.
Mm.
I stay late. I was like, look, I'm just getting now my nails done after like, 45 years. But yeah, that was one of my favorite because I realized because I didn't know what kind of show we were gonna do, but
Mm.
I like it's a show. Obviously, this is a finance show, but it's a finance and friendship show.
Yeah.
You
I took
know?
I took myself a little too seriously in the beginning. I really did see my position in the beginning. I thought of it as like Tiffany is the comedian, the sparkle. And I would like tell myself, this is Tiffany. She's bringing the light and the fun and the joy and the kiki and the comedic relief. And I looked at it as my position to like be the somber like fact finder. Well, Tiffany, go to the facts because according to this study and that side of me still comes out a little bit because I still consider myself a journalist, but
Hmm.
it took me a minute, I think, to get comfortable, not necessarily like with you, but definitely with like not necessarily needing to like beat the audience over the head with like facts and data and statistics and news. And
Remember, you used to be like, in the beginning, you were like, because remember, I opened with the, was it hey? I guess yeah, hey, you might whatever I used to open with. Like, I mean, meanwhile, I just
hey,
did
hey,
it because
hey.
yes, or something. You were like, I think we should open with it. And then people wrote back was like, how come Tiffany's not saying her saying
Did
hey,
I
hey,
say
hey?
that sounds like something I would have
Yeah,
done. This isn't
yeah.
really serious journalism
I know
if we're
you were like,
singing.
and I was like, okay, that's fine, because I was open to like, I was like, podcasting is new, and then people were like, no, we like the opening, and now we just be full fledged singing in the
Well,
beginning.
we we listen, I this is not the episode to talk about the future, but don't ask me what's going to happen to the intro. I don't know yet. I don't know yet. How will I top it? I don't know. Okay, so Pack Panties is just one of those iconic moments. It's the moment that
Yes.
sticks in my mind when I think about, okay, this is not going to be the show that maybe like my straight A journalism 4.0 GPA brain wanted it to be, but that it was going to be something quite different.
Yes.
All right. So the next part of the journey that I think really sticks out for me is our love relationships. I
Hmm.
think I don't know if have you listened back to the very first episode of Brown Ambition
No, it's been so
recently?
long.
I don't know if it'll make you cringe, but my baby voice that still had a little bit of that southern twang. It
Oh.
did. But the way that we were so green and young in love in our relationships, I
Mm.
wondered if you can think, I mean, obviously there's it couldn't be more different than it was 10
Yeah.
years ago, 9 years ago when we recorded that episode. But I wanted to reflect on us as like, or you specifically, and how you feel like you've grown as someone in love, someone how you approach your romantic relationships, your idea of partnership, and how that's
Yeah, I
maybe
remember.
changed.
I mean, I'm trying to think what year did we start Brand Ambition again?
2015.
2015. So I was 35.
When
And but
you said that on the show on the first episode, and I was like,
really?
oh my god, I'm the exact same age as Tiffany
Oh my God,
was
now
at
you
the
being
beginning.
grown. Not grown man being baby Tiffany.
Yes, yes,
It's so
yes.
that's so crazy. So yeah, I was 35 and Jarrell and I had started dating again at 34. So I met him in my mid 20s, early to mid 20s. We dated a little bit when we were 30, but I was really focused on Budgetnista. And then at 34, we were like, okay, let's like really go for this. So by then we probably were dating for like if not a year, nearly a year. So he wasn't new to me. You know, this is somebody who I cared about for a
I
very
think you
long
guys were
time.
living together
Yeah,
at that
probably.
time.
Yeah, if we either had just moved in because I remember because I lived around the corner. And he was like, "You always over here," which is something Gerald would say. You might as well just move in. So I did. um, and I didn't know, but then 2 years later we'd be married. But yeah, then I was. My thoughts about love then were I was ready to settle down. I had been doing Budgetnista for a while, and I hated coming home after something amazing happened, and then it was just like me. And
Mm.
I just realized that I wanted more than just whatever financial business success could bring, that I wanted companionship. And, I had always really cared about Jarrell. Um, and he just was always kind and sweet and considerate. Um, and I think by that time I knew I wanted to marry him. I think I probably already gave him an ultimatum. Because I said, "You got about 1 year, sir. It don't take a whole year to recognize sunshine." That's what I told him. I said,
Mm.
"December 31st, you either gonna have a roommate or what did I tell him? I said, you either gonna have a fiance or a new roommate." And so yeah, by the next year he'd asked me to marry him. And then we got married at 30 when I was
Mm.
37. So the year after that. And yeah, so my approach to dating is still
Or
kind of the
not dating,
same.
but like a partnership. Like
Um,
when you were literally like Jarrell at the time, you were approaching the kind of partner that you wanted at the time, and
yes,
you were such a different place, blank slate. Whereas now we know you got a
I know.
boyfriend.
So I have a partner now, but it's different in that then I was very, very, very focused on getting married. Focus on
Mm.
getting married. I want to have kids. I want to get married. I want to have kids. I want to get married. So that is not the same. That urgency is not there. Where if I were to get married
Mm.
again, okay. If not, okay. Honestly, I'm literally like, well, however the wind blows, and I'm not trying to have children. So I don't have an urgency. I'm just in partnership now. I'm just seeking like truly a partnership, somebody who is kind, somebody who's considerate, someone who I can trust. Um, and but I'm not concerned if I get married or not. If that happens, it'd have to be pretty amazing. I mean, like my partner now is great, but there's a different level of great. Now, Dr. Green reminded me, she said, there's a different type of dating that happens before and after marriage, Tiffany. She said, because before marriage, you're guessing what kind of partner you need.
Mm.
You're like, oh, I want this, I want that, I want this and that. And she said, after marriage, you're like, I kind of know, because it's different.
Mm.
Like, so my partner now, for example, if I had never been married before, I'd be like, hell yeah, I'd marry him because he has all the fairy tale checklist things that you'd want. But Tiffany, who's been married, is like, girl, we need a little more of this, a little more, the real deal. Because, child, I mean, every married woman will tell you it's not always easy. And so there's some components that you're just like, aside from the checklist, a good person, kind, blah, blah, there's some other things. And so, like I am, like if I don't have those things, I'm okay with not getting married. Because, child, marrying the wrong person, I didn't marry the wrong person, but marrying the wrong person, is hell and a headache. And I'm not interested in that because you had the
Mm.
fairy tale thing. So that's where I am now, where I'm really content with my love life and dating life now. If it grows and matures into something more, great. And if not, I'll never
Mm.
be alone. I got sisters and friends. Okay, I'll be right at Mandy's house, like, hey, hey,
Yes.
Bambinos, I'm your TT.
I would love that. You have no idea. The way that I get jealous when I think about like your friends who are your neighbors just down the street. I'm like, oh, what would life be if Tiffany was just around the corner? I would never go
Girl,
home, or you would never go home.
I know. I'm like, drop my babies off. That's what
It's
I'll
probably
tell
better
you.
this
Like,
way. The biggest thing for and okay, I'll get to that in a second, but I did want to before we move too far away from the pack panty thing, I went and found the name. I was like, what was the name of that episode? Do you know what the name of the episode was?
oh God, what was it?
I didn't know that we just went ahead and put it in the title.
Oh,
It was no, no more raggedy underwear.
oh my God. No, it's not.
It is.
Wow. What?
Episode 26. Okay, it wasn't like
Wow.
episode 2. There was
Okay.
a lot of life. We went through a lot
A
together
lot
in
of
that
life.
first year of the podcast. Because
Yeah.
when I'm looking at these titles, I'm like, Tiffany makes a big baby decision. That's when I think you were talking about like,
IVF.
I'm going for it.
Yeah.
we talked, I mean, we had to go through the election together,
Yeah.
the 2016 election.
Yeah.
That was both of our engagements. Our,
Yes. Wow.
episode 15 put a ring on it. When I say this
Wow.
title, what do you remember what this is about? Okay, maybe you will, maybe you won't.
Okay.
Episode 14, Gifted Hands, Foolish Mind.
No.
You don't remember? Think about
No.
the election cycle. Think about a politician, gifted hands.
Oh, I was gonna say Gifted Hands is the name of that Ben Carson.
Ben Carson. Remember he was
Wow.
like, wasn't he like
Girl.
running for office or something? Oh,
He
but
just, yeah.
it brings it back,
What a
man.
legacy burner.
Some of our earliest guests, I mean, we didn't have, I mean, we were a small, I mean, I don't even think, how could you compare our size to any other podcast? They were so new, but our earliest guest, Morgan DeBon of Blavity,
Mm-hmm.
was our first, like, I
And
felt like it was a big
Afrotech,
get.
yes.
And Afrotech. Oh, I'm going to be an Afrotech. There was also Lovey was one of our
Yes.
very first guests.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my days. But we did not, I feel like we decided early on, like this magic of us
Yeah.
being in the, like road tripping together. It kind of felt like, Thelma and Louise every time we started a show, like
Yes.
not to drive off a cliff, but to be side by side. Oh my gosh, it's fun looking at these. Why every woman needs an FU fun. No more raggedy underwear. Wanda has 0 F's to give.
I wonder what happened there, but I know Wanda's what I call my 80-year-old self.
Wanda is what you call your 80-year-old self. Okay. Now, friendship. We talk a lot about our friendship.
Mhm.
You, I think in small spurts, have mentioned your shift as a friend and like the kind of friendship that you 10 years ago when we started the show where we had patience for, and like how, like, what have you learned about like keeping certain people in your life and exercising certain people from your life over the past 10 years? Because that's definitely been a theme of your growth. If I think back to the last 10
Well,
years.
remember, like I don't know if we had an episode where we talked about bully friends. Remember?
Oh yeah, I mean, was that a whole? We definitely talked about bully friends.
Yes,
and then
I
I
don't know if
got
it was
very afraid that I was your bully friend.
No. And so I used to have. I mean, ever since I was little, I just had this. I don't know, this thought that brought on that it was okay to mistreat me, in friendship, and so I always had a bully friend, and typically, it typically was a girl. And she probably was my best friend at the time. I think about in college, I think about certainly some of my elementary and middle school friends. And even as a grown adult, I got rid of my last bully friend. I was like 39. I'm sure she's probably going to be like, because she's hypersensitive, because God forbid anybody should say anything. Girl, it's happening.
You're on the way out. Blow it up on the way out. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm like, whatever. Because the truth of the matter is everybody around bullies knows. But bullies are, especially like a sensitive bully who's like, not me. But secretly, the people be knowing, because I used to be an enabler too. When I saw her bullying, I'd be like, well, I know, but I kind of would just. But if someone would say something, I'd be like, I mean, we all know. So, but I don't tolerate that anymore. So I'd gotten rid of, I would say, the bulk of my bully friends after I graduated college, but I still had some remnants of a handful of people who, kind of just came into the future with me. And then finally, my final one was, around 39, 40. I think I was saying, I'm not going to go into 40 with this kind of relationship anymore. And I cut it off. And when you've done the right thing about letting someone go. I mean, I didn't just cut it off. I stopped talking. I said, hey, this is not happening anymore. You can't have access to me. Or you can't be a part of my life. I just made that clear. So it wasn't like, I didn't just ghost. And
it wasn't like, if you don't fix, like, here's the things you need to fix, I'm going to give you like.
Prior to that, we'd had those conversations. So it wasn't like, it wasn't just out of the blue. It was like, we had those conversations. Honestly, she was really, I look back and I'm like, I wish I could go back and cuss her the hell out like the Tiffany I am now. Because there would be some stuff like, because honestly, there's some things. What I've learned now is that bully friends like that don't treat everyone that way. They know kind of who will allow for the bad behavior. And they don't start off that way. But once they start to realize that I would allow for the bad behavior, you say something slick and I don't correct it. You say something mean, I don't correct it. I remember she used to call me stupid. Yes, which is
Like
crazy.
in what context? Like in
So
what
it would
style?
kind of
Like,
like
you
she was joking.
stupid.
Yeah, no, because it would be like, girl, you're just so stupid. And I'd be like, because I'd be like, it
Oh.
was borderline, like, you stupid, but not quite. And I'd be like, don't say that. I told you I don't like when you say that. And she'd be like, oh gosh, girl, I just be playing. And things like that would come up where I'd be like, I feel
Mm.
like there's an undertone here.
Mm.
Like it's not giving like, girl,
I
you're so
felt it when.
stupid. Yeah, it was like more like, or I remember, because low key, high key, I know she was jealous of my business. I said it, girl. You know you were. And I know
Mm.
someone's gonna show this to her and she's gonna listen and say, this is what I mean. I don't care, honestly. It's happening.
Yeah.
Because everyone was so afraid to tell her about herself. And it's as a result, she morphed into a person that people did not want to be around. Certainly, it's not like she doesn't have any friends, but what I knew that it was the right choice because after I stopped being her friend, and I kind of let my friends know, everybody was like, "Final freaking Lee, the hell."
Mm.
And literally, there were people who had stopped coming around as much that I didn't realize. They were like, "Yeah, I didn't want to come to your events. I didn't want to come to your parties. I didn't want to because I didn't, she's nasty." And I'm like, wow.
Mm.
So the place I am in now is that when I look at every single person, like you came to my house for my birthday,
Mm-hmm.
the level of love and openness, like I am inundated with love. I over index in good, kind people. There is not even a whiff of nastiness or bulliness or in any of the people that I surround myself with. And I always thought that if I was overtly nice, that's the kind of energy you got back. But what I learned is that's not true. That clear is kind. And I am very clear with anyone who enters
Mm.
into my life newly that I will not tolerate mistreatment. I remember my bully friend used to say things like, because she had her own business, she would say things like, we would be talking about somebody with a business. They're like, oh, their business does good. Or they would have hit a milestone. And I'll say, oh, I hit that milestone. She's like, yeah, but like for real. Like they hit that milestone for real. And I was like,
Mm.
okay, but so there was a constant like devaluing of me as a person, but me as a business person. And that's when I realized, oh, that's just called
Yeah.
jealousy. Because we had started our business around the same time. And quite honestly, mine
That's
has
not Kelly
exploded.
behavior.
Yeah,
That's
no,
not Kelly
yeah.
behavior.
And here's the thing, me, I'm always the alley-ooper. I mean, I'm gonna put you on, I'm gonna say your name, I'm gonna put you into
To
rooms,
a
I'm gonna do all,
fault.
you
To
know?
a fault.
And so I was doing that and I realized that like I was the only one doing that. And then my access was being misused and people who I was giving her access to, she was mistreating. And
Uh,
so they would come back to me and say, hey, that I wasn't treated right. And then that's when I realized that aside from the personal part, the professional part also had to disable. And so old Tiffany would be like, oh, don't say all this stuff, Tiffany. No, I'm okay with it because the truth is the truth. And maybe she's different now, but quite honestly, I don't care. Prayerfully, I hope all things are well, but there's no access here. Like, I don't, like, I don't, there's no, a day has not passed. I've missed that friendship, not even a little bit. That's how you knew it was really
yeah.
toxic. And I had participated in it. It wasn't like, this is not, don't cry for me, Argentina. I allowed, I did not correct, I enabled the bad behavior. But I don't do that anymore. So my friendships now, like I just look for good, kind people. If I am afraid to tell you how I feel, if I'm afraid, to show up fully as myself, then I know this is not a friendship or even a connection that I want to keep up with. And so when I look around now, like, you know, I've never felt more blessed, which is so crazy because Jarrell's not here. But I am in such
Mm.
a good place, like, despite that great loss. And I have to really credit him because Jarrell was not, he wasn't about that life. Ain't nobody bullying him. So losing him, it's almost like I absorbed some of his nerve and gall,
Mm.
um, because there's a lot of stuff that Jarrell did not put up with the bullshit. I would tell him like, "Oh, babe," people like, "What? You want me to talk to her? Because you are," I'm like, "No, no, 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 I do it," And so, so
Protected.
there's a lot of like, I don't know. Jarrell lived this like free, beautiful life. He was kind to people and he was honest, but he was also like, like I'm on what you on. And
Mhm.
so I felt like I absorbed some of that. Like, I'm not afraid of people anymore. You can't talk to me any kind of way. Be careful what
Mm.
you say about me in these streets. Cause I promise you, the person that you think you kikiing with, I probably helped them in the past and they're really looking at you like you crazy. Because
Mm.
things have come back to me. I'm like, oh, really? See? She was about to get that opportunity. Didn't she fuck it up for herself? Thinking that she's going to fuck it up for me? Not me, girl. Because the thing is, I try to move right and tight. I'm kind to people. I'm honest. I don't take advantage. So, yeah, it's just a
Mm.
different Tiffany. Like, I am much tougher. I'm kinder, meaning I'm clearer, but I'm also much tougher. So, yeah, my stance on friendship now is like your reaction to me telling you that I think it's time for me to leave Brown Ambition is the type of friendship that I seek now. One where it is safe to say that. I did not feel unsafe. I was, I don't want to say worried, but like sad because I was didn't want to make you feel sad or make you think
Yeah.
that I was leaving because you did anything, but I wasn't scared to tell you because I
Yeah.
thought that you'd be like, well, you're not my friend. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
was just
yeah.
more so like, oh man, this is a sad feeling. And I know it's going to bring up feelings of sadness, but I'm not afraid of Mandi or think that Mandi's going to weaponize this to hurt me. And so that's the kind of friendship that we should be able to say the hard things in a kind way, in a safe space. And
Mm.
everybody who's close to me, I have that with. And so, yeah.
Are you
So,
making new friends today at
um,
45?
some, I mean, like, I don't open the doors quite as easily because when I'm your friend, girl, it's like we gonna go. I like to go above and beyond. So,
Mm.
I don't have a ton of capacity for like a bajillion folks, but I'll see some people, trying to make their way. I'm like, they're trying to making their way downtown, walking fast, and I say, we'll see because actions speak louder than words. And so,
Yeah.
not that I give people tests or anything, but I'm just like, if this is truly going to develop into a friendship, then it will. So I'm
Mm.
open to friendships, but I'm certainly not chasing after them.
Gotcha. Yeah, my therapist reminded me after my big friendship breakup last year was like, and you can make new friends. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, the work. But yeah, I've learned a lot from like like the way that you've shared stories about your friendships over the years. I know we always talk about that one,
Mm-hmm.
but because obviously it's like my one. I'll probably still be talking about her in 10
Mm-hmm.
years. Um but yeah, I think that kind of transparency is just mm, it's just why everyone loves you and why the show is so different. Okay, so episode 87, Tiffany, is going to bring us into our next category, which is health. Because
Mm.
episode 87 was called, you ready? If you had to guess, what do you
Something about
think?
jumping rope. No.
No, that was later.
Water? Was I my
And
water?
we're going to get there. It is
Water?
my, if I have to spend every hour, I'm going to find every clip of you talking about a new workout routine and how this is the best thing. It's my brown boost this week.
I'm walking now. Oh, I'm jumping rope. I only drink water. I don't. I
How
mean,
many trainers were the brown boost one
oh
week
my
and we never
god.
heard about them again? It wasn't just one.
I'm
It was
sorry, Mr. Jeremiah. I'm sorry, Kiana, Jeremiah, girl.
there was vegan Tiffany.
Oh
She was
yes,
here in the
vegan
beginning.
Tiffany. That's right. Yo, I've been through it. Damn, it's true. Oh,
Oh
vegan
man.
Tiffany.
There was
Oh,
probably the meal kit delivery phase. I think we all had
yes, for
one of
sure.
those. Yeah.
Yes,
There was the shopping at Whole Foods,
girl. Yes, I
Tiffany.
remember that.
Yes. But anyway, this episode is actually called Fibroids and Finances.
Oh.
So I think you've been so transparent. The whole
Mhm.
fibroid conversation came up because of your fertility journey, right?
Yes.
We talked about the episode Tiffany makes a big baby decision.
Hmm.
Um but I don't think that like catch us up. I mean, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Uh
Well, as
but
far
catch us up
as
on what has happened and what the effect has been with your body and like what looking back now um I don't know, what would you say to people who are maybe like on that similar journey or facing fibroids or something like that today?
well, first, fibroids, just for those who don't know, they're kind of like they're tumors that are benign that live in and outside of a woman's uterus. And can prevent you from having children because they take up the space in the uterus that a kid would grow. So some women will, and typically the issue with fibroids is that as the baby grows, so does the fibroid, or
Mm.
fibroids. I had like 17 of them. And they were the sex. I used to always have this little bit of a belly. And I was like, where? But it was a weird belly because it wasn't like I can't describe it. There's like the belly where you're like, oh, that's a little fat, but it poked almost like, how men have like a beer belly where
Mm-hmm.
it pokes in a weird way. So I look back at pictures and I just used to always say, oh, I'm just so greedy. Girl, I got a belly. But I look, the belly sat high,
Mm-hmm.
and at the time I didn't know what it was, and I was full of fibroids. And I didn't find out until I had gotten naturally pregnant with Jarrell. Like maybe I was 37. It was like the year we got married, or maybe 38. And I was really excited, but really nervous. And then I started spotting, and I just got really nervous. And we went to the emergency room, and they were like, I don't see a baby. All I see is fibroids. And I was like, wait, what? And I didn't even know if I fully even knew what fibroids were then. And I ended up having a miscarriage. And so, in large part because the fibroids were like, your body knows there's no room here. So what are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to a gynecologist. And if I'm being honest, up until then, I had not been going to the doctor regularly because I had no money. And I didn't have health insurance because, business owner. And I had been largely celibate for a while before I had met Jarrell. So I was kind of like, well, my vagina's fine. I'm sorry.
Because fibroids, like, they're asymptomatic. I mean,
Yeah, well, that's not
you
true.
just
Like
can
with
walk around with them and
Yeah, I mean,
not
now
know.
with them gone, I'm like, oh, that's what that feeling was. Certainly, there can be like pressure and uncomfortable, a feeling of being uncomfortable during sex, which I did have, but I just kind of was like, I don't know. And then, like, I
Mm,
felt like now, like, it was like a ball that I could, especially one of them was pretty big because collectively they were the size of me being 4 months pregnant. So imagine.
man.
That's what the kind of like stomach was. And so the doctor's like, you don't feel that right here? I'm like, I do, but I've never not felt it because they grow over time. So I just was like, that's just how it feels, my tummy feels.
Mm,
And there's pressure on my bladder, and certainly they can cause for heavier periods. So I had all these things, but I didn't know these were symptoms. I just thought I'm a woman. This is just woman life. And then so I had them taken out, like literally they cut you open. Like I have the scar is largely faded for women who have C-sections. It's like the similar C-section bikini line scar. And they went in, opened up my uterus, took out the ones they could, and they left the ones on the outside because I still have some fibroids because they didn't want to compromise the uterus. They wanted to leave it open and clear to have a baby. Um,
mm,
yeah, and so a lot of women, they go right back. That's one of the reasons why I became vegan, because I had read a lot of like literature that fibroids, they're not really sure of the cause, but they suspect, I mean, that it's very hormonal, and then the hormones in the meat. And I stopped eating dairy, and just like, and I have to say, as far as I can tell, they haven't really grown back inside my uterus. Um, my period it never went back to being heavy again. I don't
mm.
have like the belly. I mean, I got the food belly, but not the fibro belly. um,
So
and
you have
so,
to continue to be concerned about it, like potentially them
it's
growing back.
they can't. Yeah, for many women, they grow back. So it depends what
Oh
concern
gosh.
means. Meaning, like they can make life feel a little uncomfortable, but they're not. They're not deadly. And so I know like a lot of my friends who are older ended up just deciding, like in their 40s, whatever, like if they had their kids already, just say, I am just going to have a hysterectomy, just get rid of them, get rid of my uterus.
Mm,
I'm not there yet. So I do have like so I used to go to gynecologist damn near every week when I was doing IVF for 3 years. Because I had, I used to go to the IVF center and you get checked every week. But when Jarrell passed away, I just stopped going to everywhere. So I'm just now getting back to the doctor. So I just
mm.
found a new gyno. I've
Oh,
had
that's
my
really great. Gosh.
yeah, because because honestly, if I'm being honest, I'm not sure what's happening inside there because I haven't been to a gynecologist in 3 years just because I kind of just gave up
Oh
on life.
my.
hmm
Oh,
And so,
Tiff.
like, I
Thanks
know,
for, I mean, that kind of candor is like,
yeah.
it's real. That's real
Because I was like, well, what
fucking
do I
talk.
can't, I can't have a baby. I can't, and I don't know if I
Mm,
felt like it was kind of a reminder, but I remember even when I went back to the doctor, because I had my first doctor's appointment, since he passed away, maybe like a couple months ago. And she's like, oh, I see in your chart there's this big gap. And then sometimes you don't know when the tears are going to come up. Sometimes I'm fine to say it. And I just told her, like, oh, yeah, my husband died. And then all of a sudden I'm like, "Wah!" I'm like, what the hell? But she was
mm.
so kind. And she was like, that happens a lot. And I'm glad that you're taking care of yourself again. I was given a clean bill of health, although aside from pre-diabetes, since I be eating sugar a lot. I know. But other than that, and so like I was like, all right, the next thing.
Are you really pre-diabetic? You're telling me
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
technically your
Yeah.
A1C was like high at your last
Yeah. She,
physical?
she was like, girl, yeah, she was like, you need to, because she was
Mm,
like, you're not necessarily overweight. Certainly I could like, slow down on it and then maybe lose 5, 10 pounds. But I think it's mostly just like my sugar, like intake.
mm.
Because I'm kind of a candy holic. Um, but yeah, so I have
Or
to
it's
go
just like
back.
a genetic thing that your body just doesn't
Maybe
process
so.
sugar
Yes.
that well. Ugh, I got
So,
such a big scare during my most recent pregnancy with the whole diabetes thing.
mm,
Um, so that's a new challenge, like looking ahead for you is like, what's the plan there? Keeping
yeah.
tabs on that.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said keeping tabs on that. And like honestly, one of the things my November, I'm not gonna be here in November. Y'all get your episodes, but I won't be here. But is to like kind of make a list of all the doctors I need to
Mm.
like I'm pretty sure it's time for me to have glasses, according to Cabral, my one of my best friends. I know. Girl, I can't see shit far
I
away.
don't think any of y'all see that's the thing. I don't think anyone who doesn't wear glasses actually doesn't need glasses. I
I
think you
know.
all need
We do.
something because there's
Well,
this
I
like
would say up until I think probably about 40, I probably needed it because I remember like doing the sprint like from far away, like what does that sign say? So that now it's for sure because there's times when I'm like, girl, I mean, for $1 million, I couldn't tell you. so I can see up close, I'm great. But far
yeah.
away, I'm like, it's
Well,
anybody's guess. I just recognize, I think that's the Wendy sign. So I said in November, I'm going to do like all of my like every type of doctor, every type of whatever.
hmm.
But yes, so as far as the fibroids, I can honestly say I don't know. I'm pretty sure I don't have the ones in my uterus growing back. I don't know if the ones externally have come back. I'm not trying to have a child, so I'm not as concerned unless it just causes me discomfort. And I'm not crazy about the thought about getting a hysterectomy if I still do have fibroids unless they're bothering me, just because that's major, major, major surgery that I'm just like, and it will likely trigger menopause faster because you don't have
I
your,
was about to find a way to segue into meno because
yeah,
that's such a different journey. 35-year-old Tiffany, do you think you were thinking about menopause and like
nah.
at all? We sure weren't
Well,
talking about it at the
I'll say
time.
this that like maybe, I mean, I don't know, like my issues with fertility, it wasn't just fibroids. I am someone who, and it's hereditary, where my eggs spoiled faster. So my 35-year-old eggs were like the eggs of somebody who's 45.
Wow.
And so, like
Spoiled
if I would have
faster.
had, yes, I don't know like what the term is, but if I would have had my like had to try to have kids earlier, maybe I would have. But like when
Mm.
like my progesterone levels were like really low, which are the hormones that help you be fertile, that were really low. Because I remember when I had my miscarriage and I went to the gynecologist and she was like, how old are you again? Because your levels are really low. And basically, if you wouldn't have a baby, you have like now, 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 now. And I just was
Mm.
like, oh, because she was like, it's looking like you're like, like, because if at 45, you can have a baby, but it's like, girl, you got like a year and some change if you're lucky and a hope and a prayer. And that's where I was in my mid 30s. And so, yeah,
Mm.
so that's one of the reasons why, I wasn't able to conceive because I just wasn't as fertile. And so I don't know if that was a perimenopausal thing or just like I know it's hereditary, but like I'm not even
Yeah.
fully certain. That's why I can't wait to see the menopause episode. I mean not episode, but the menopause movie because I don't even know all the symptoms that I might be experiencing. Like, oh, that's peri?
Mm.
Damn. Your girl got
Does your mom talk about that stuff?
no, not really. And she's a nurse. I just remember her having a bad attitude. My mom was actually pretty happy go lucky. But I remember her like, we were like, what's wrong with her? She's so nasty. And then I remember her sweating randomly. We're like, ew, look at her sweating.
Poor Sylvia.
I know.
Wait, Sylvia or Sylvie?
Sylvia, I
Sylvia.
know. Yes.
Okay.
So like those are the only things I remember. But she
Oh
didn't really
man.
talk about it.
This is one thing that I think we might have I remember having a conversation with you. When was it? either I think it was you had a miscarriage,
Mhm.
and I was pregnant. And
Mm.
I think I told you, I forget which one of them came first, but I remember it was off air. I remember having a
Mhm.
conversation with you about those dual things.
Mm.
And like, it was just one of the reasons why I think our friendship is so special, is like we were able to like acknowledge the
Yeah.
fucked upness of it. Like,
Yeah.
and for you, I just wonder, was there anything in particular, like if there's people listening who are in that fertility struggle now, that you could say to like coexist when other people in your life are having a different journey? Because
Um, I
that's
don't know if you
special.
remember, but I do remember an episode where we talked about children and having kids. It might have been, was very early on. And I remember saying, and that was true, that I wasn't certain 100% that I wanted to be a mom, but I was 100% certain that I knew if I didn't try, I would regret it.
Mm,
That I never had this, so it's different because there's some people who want to be a mom no matter what, you know?
gotcha.
And if you're in that fertility journey and you want to be a mom no matter what, I would be open to being a mom no matter what it might look like. You know, like if you're not able to give birth to your own children, to consider beyond that. But I was never a mom no matter what, girl. I remember distinctly there was an episode where I said this and I just wasn't sure, but I knew like I was in this weird place where it's like you kind of gotta make a choice, Tiffany, because in your late 30s, this is. But I remember I was like, if I was gonna have a child with anyone, Jarrell Jarik, which I could say his middle name now, which he hated because he's not.
Tariq.
I know.
His mama, she really did it with those twins' names.
First of all, it was Terrell Tariq. He said, "Why would you make up Jarik? Because you wanted to name Terrell Tariq." Yo, when I say he hated right now, Jarrell is like really looking down, like, "Wow, sorry, Jarik, it's out now."
Terrell and Jarrell, Terrell Tariq and Jarrell Jarik
Yes,
is crazy.
crazy work. Miss Andy, you really did a number because he hated because he was like, it's not even a real name. She just made it up so she could have us rhyme. So, clearly. So Jarrell Jarik Smith was the only man. I mean, I had a college boyfriend. I was like, not him. You know, like I had dated. I was like, but
Yeah.
Jarrell in particular, because he was kind. I could actively watch him raise Alyssa with all the kindness and love. But not only just that, I saw what it looked like when he wasn't with the mother of his child and how he was like, she was still family. You know, they had their back and forth and stuff, you know, but
Yeah.
like, and so I thought, like, I mean, he, I could, to this day, there's no man that I could have seen myself, you know, having a child with. So for me, I told Dr. Green, is it strange that I'm not sad that I don't have a baby right now?
Mm.
You know? And she said, no, because one, you tried. And I see now, it's almost like there was a seed planted that if I had not done the 3 years of IVF almost back to back, I mean, I wasn't traveling, I wasn't this, I wasn't that. If I had not done that, I would be sitting with so much regret right now. Because I know for a
Mm.
fact there is nothing more. Literally, the last thing the doctor told me, he said, because I think I did my last, I was 39 or 40. Jarrell passed away at 41. So I was like 40 or 41. And he was like, this is the last viable embryo that you have. You have no more viable eggs. This is your last viable embryo. And I was like, oh my gosh. And they put that embryo in me in October and we prayed and we hoped and we wished and it didn't take. And then Jarrell died in November. So I
Mm.
literally did everything possible to have a baby. And so I don't live with regret like, dang, if I just would have put the budget needs down for a little bit, girl, you couldn't have worked. No,
Mhm.
I did everything. I gave my last egg. I gave and so for me, I realized that's what I needed. Not necessarily that I for sure 100,000% wanted to be a mom. I knew I wanted to try with Jarrell and not live with the regret. Of course, I didn't know he was going to be here, but maybe the divine obviously knew. It was like, Tiffany, if you don't try, you will regret it. There's not a appointment
Mm.
that I missed. There was so many weddings I didn't go to that were in I remember like literally like I didn't go to Lovey's bridal thing. I didn't go. There's all these things I didn't do because I was like, no, I have to be close to my doctor. And I'm so glad I made that choice because I live without regret now. Because I don't know that I would
Mhm.
want a 2 or 3 year old and no Jarrell here. You know, he was a Mr. Mom. There are relationships where the dad is like the traditional mom kind of role, and
Mm.
that was Jarrell. Like I was a great provider, the traditional kind of like dad role, this great provider, this but Jarrell was Mr. Hands On, Mr. Let me wipe behind your ears, Mr. Like your knees look dirty, like Mr. You know what I mean? And so I wanted him alongside me. I would not want to take that parental journey by myself. And so I'm glad I don't have
Mm.
to take it by myself. And I'm glad I did everything possible. And certainly I was sad doing those miscarriages and IVF not working. But I think what happened, what was supposed to happen, and Jarrell is not here. And I'm here and I don't know that I'd want to be here by myself with a baby trying to figure it out, also grieving at the same time, so
There's so much consistency in like what you're saying now and what you have said.
yeah.
That's what I'm noticing. Like you've just really stayed true to the values and your version of the life that you wanted and like the intention behind why you were making the choices you were making. And I think that's just it's just I don't know, it's just always heartening to see you just stand in your truth, make
Mm-hmm.
decisions from a place of like what's really important, like your values haven't changed. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's really key. I don't think this is like the kind of look back down memory lane where it's like I have fundamentally changed the way that I approach
Mm-hmm.
XYZ, because so much of your authenticity lies in the fact that you haven't, like you will go after those big business goals, but you will have those come down to earth moments where it's like, wait a second, and then you won't wait. You will move forward, with that intention. And I can play a clip from that episode because we did talk about when you were
Yeah.
like, I'm making getting pregnant like my job, not
Mm-hmm.
traveling, all of that. And it was one of the first things I thought about after Jarrell's passing was how I was like, she really did give it everything. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
I felt comforted in the same way that you're talking about now. Cause I was like, and it wasn't so much, it was also just about spending time with him. It wasn't just
Mm-hmm.
about the baby. Like you were
Yeah.
very intentional. And I just think that's commendable. And
They call it, I was I don't know, I was like on BuzzFeed the other day and there's this thing called the third man syndrome where it's like
third man
sometimes in
syndrome.
life, or is it third man syndrome? It was third man something. I think it's syndrome, child. And what they talked about is that sometimes, I mean, for some people they call it God. For some people, yeah, third man syndrome. It's
Mm,
like this psychological phenomenon where people report experiencing the presence of an unseen entity during traumatic or life-threatening situations, right? So I've certainly had it where, you ever had something say like, wake up or turn to the left or, like I
mm,
remember I was driving once and I was in college and a bunch of us were in the car blasting music. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. We were headed back like to school on campus and I don't drink, but I'm sure everybody else was drunk. So I'm at the light turns green and something said, wait.
mm,
And it wasn't like this voice out loud, but it was like very clear. And I was like, what? And it was like, wait. And my friends were like, girl, it's green, go. And I was like, no, something, I don't know. I couldn't explain it. And then what
mm,
happened was 2 seconds later, stolen car, ving, and the police car. I would have been hit, and I don't know if we would have made it. Like the way the cars came, they flew across. And sometimes I think that third man syndrome, not even sometimes, I know for a fact that certainly in these life threatening, whatever moments, sometimes that's happened for me where
mm,
something will pull me back or keep me safe. But I also have that feeling with in a slower way where the year before Jarrell passed away, I got a very clear sense you need to spend more time with your husband. It wasn't
mhm,
like this like voice, you need to. It was just this deep sense of you need to spend more time with your husband. So much so that I hired a
mm,
business coach and a therapist to help me create the space.
mhm,
And I just was like, okay, even the same with Brown Ambition. I don't know why, but it was like it's time to navigate. It's time to leave Brown Ambition. It was so crazy. I was like, wait, what? I'm not gonna lie. I was, Mandy. I was when you called me. I was in Martha's Vineyard. We was having this chit chat. We was just talking and laughing. My girl Mandy. And I hung up. I was like, oh, I love Mandy. And the thing was like, it's time to leave Brown Ambition. And I literally said, what the hell? I literally said, and I said, what happened? I remember
mm,
thinking like, I don't wait, what? And it was just like, yeah, I'm like, but nothing's happened. Like me and Mandy just had this great conversation. I was trying to like, is there some underlying thing? No. but I have learned to be obedient to the larger thing when it tells me to move, when it tells me to stay.
Mm,
The thing that told me try everything you can to have a baby. Not that it was going to result in a baby, but it was going to result in the peace of trying with this man that you love so much that you would not have right now. I remember
mhm,
distinctly when Jarrell always said bye. He died when he was 41, and he had told me I always wanted to have a house by age 40. And so we bought the house. I think I want to say Jarrell was 38, 39 when we bought it, and we had finished renovating it like when he was like 40. And I remember my mom said, "You guys are in such a rush to decorate," but I wanted everything to be perfect. I did not know he was only going to be able to enjoy it for like a year and a half, and he loved that house. And I'm so grateful that this thing was like, get the house together. And so if you have that thing, that third man
mm,
syndrome, that's kind of whispering to you, it's time to leave that job, or you should reconsider this, or is that person really your friend, or spend more time with your kids, or like to be open to listening to whatever that thing is. Because you don't know, like we all just assume we have time and you just might
mm.
not.
We don't really talk about religion a lot, but do you call that voice God? Like, how do you?
Sometimes I do.
Doesn't
I
even
don't.
matter. It's just a voice,
Yeah,
but
I mean, I call it like the divine. I think it's just a greater source. I mean, yeah, I mean,
mm,
I sometimes for sure, honestly, sometimes I'm like, this is clearly God because it'll be like this, you need to do this thing. And then sometimes it's a softer energy. And I don't know
mm,
if we have guardian angels. I don't know, who knows? It could be an ancestor from the past. Sometimes the energy is softer, and sometimes the energy, there's times when I have no doubt that the energy to me is God when it would, because it's so clear.
mm,
And then sometimes when it's softer, sometimes honestly, Jarrell will come to me in a dream. He used to tell me this. He used to say, sometimes his mother visits him in dreams. I'm like, how do you know it's not a dream of her? And he said, no, I know when I'm dreaming about her. I wake up, I'm like, oh, I had a dream about my mom. He said, and sometimes I will literally sit with her in the dream and we'll talk. And I'll ask her
mm,
questions and I remember thinking like, I'd never had that experience, but no one ever passed away in my life that was close enough.
mm,
And there are moments now where there are times when I will dream about Jarrell, and there are times when he will visit me in a dream where it's so
mm,
clear that like this is some other thing and I am talking to him and I'm just like, okay, so I don't know what this life holds, and the divine, God, love, whatever you call it, I just know that there's something bigger than me, and I'm
mm,
just open to like receiving messages, because I realize now that like, we're not out here by ourselves, and oftentimes those
mm,
messages come from just a higher vantage point of more wisdom that I'm just open to being like, okay, if you say it's time, then it's time. And when I haven't listened, like it's wreak havoc. I got one of those lessons when it told me the time to leave preschool, teaching preschool, and I love teaching preschool, and I refused actually. I said no. It was like, again, time to leave. No, no, no. And it then my preschool closed and left me with nothing. And I lost my condo and I lost my car. And I was like, damn, I should have left what it said. Because I could have left
mm,
with money saved and things. And
mm.
so that was kind of like my first lesson of listening and obedience and alignment, that, that you're
Reflecting
never,
even to like slow down and to hear
yes.
it and to a lot of times, at least for me, that's one of the reasons I journal is because it slows my brain down
Mhm.
and I can kind of get to a feeling or a clarity. But you have to be in a headspace, like you have to be willing just to
Yes.
sort of like surrender almost
Surrender
to the
and
fact that the
receive.
answer may not be what you thought it would be
Yes.
or wanted it
Or
to
why?
be.
Nothing's wrong. Everything's good. This person did. And you're like, mm-mm. Because not
Mhm.
realizing that like there's a bigger thing happening that you need to be positioned for. It's not the loss of something. It's to being able to have the space to receive this other thing. And you're like, okay. So
Mm,
yeah.
wow. Okay. I I know that I know if I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, I don't care. I'm taking every last minute of these 9 minutes we have. Because there's still one thing that I think we touched a little bit on this, but
Okay.
looking back at episode titles, back in 2021, we
Okay.
had an episode 278, being the face of your own business. And
Mm.
I know what this episode was about. And I think it was the beginning of Tiffany rethinking the strategy
Yeah.
behind like Budgetnista and yeah, really being the face of your own business. And I think we touched on this in a recent episode of the show too. And I
Mm,
just wondered, like, how are you feeling differently today than maybe in the past about creating this business that is so Tiffany centric, you
hmm
showing up in person?
Well, I mean, in the beginning, one, I didn't navigate thinking it was going to work, if I'm being honest. I think people think I'm just like,
Mastermind.
girl, I'll be tumbling and bumbling toward like whatever is happening. I
But
mean,
my intuition told me. Just kidding.
I know, or I'm just kind of like, I just one foot in front of the other, good work, treat people kindly, work hard. I don't, and so in the beginning, I didn't have any money. So I said, the only thing I have is like really is my personality. Um, and so that's what I leaned on because I didn't even know what working looked like. I just wanted to make $500 a month. That's when I first started the Budgetnista was like, my room is $500 a month. If I can make that, great. And then I
Mm,
figured, maybe I'll get another job down the line, but it was the recession and jobs weren't to be had. So I said, well, I'll just wait out the recession and make my 500 to hopefully maybe $1,500 a month, wait it out and then make decisions from there. But then, the business started to grow and I just was kind of like, okay. And I'm not going to lie, in the beginning, I loved it. Like, I loved being in front. I loved showcasing everything. Because also too, social media was, you knew the people that were watching. So it was great to share with my family and friends all the things were happening. And then it grew to a place where you were sharing with people around the world. And even that was fun at first, but then less fun. And so now I don't regret building the
mm,
Budgetnista the way I did, but I am certainly I thought that, like over time I could like remove myself, but I realized that's impossible. But now I'm trying to move toward from a personality based business to a personality leveraged business. That you'll
mhm,
be able to use my personality to leverage the business, but I don't have to touch everything, be in everything. It's almost like it's Tiffany adjacent is enough. So that's when I started the Literature Academy and it worked that it was this adjacent business where I taught one of the 100 classes that were in there. And certainly you might use my face for like the ads and things like that, but I didn't have to be in that business. Like I probably spent less than 10% of my time navigating that business. It had its own leadership, its own team, everything. And even for the Budgetnista, as like there are some things that are coming up more and more. I'm doing more and more B2B now, where businesses are hiring us to do things that don't require me to show up.
mm.
Like we have this tool or this resource that we've created that you can have access to. So, yeah. But because I remember after Joel passed away, I remember I was like, Mandy, I'm quitting. And you were like, I don't know. I feel like you have
It
a
was
lot
more like
more.
I quit.
Yes.
Eh,
Yes. And it was
yeah.
crazy. Yes.
You
Because I
had
just,
layoffs.
I mean,
I
I
mean,
did. And I was ready to quit because I was like, who cares?
mm.
Like the hell? Who actually cares?
And Literature
But
Academy is also winding down now, right?
well, we're blending them. So
Blending them. Okay.
yeah, so because that way it could be all under one. So it looks like it's winding down,
Mm.
but really we're just renaming it and
Oh,
adding it
okay.
to the yeah.
Gotcha.
So like I'm calling it Get Good with Money Plan. So it's the
Oh.
same, yeah, because that makes it easier. Everybody knows the book, is attached to me, and it makes it easier to navigate that business. So,
Mm.
it's the Literature Academy is still there, just renamed. Um, but even
Leveraged
now,
under the brand.
exactly. So I'm
Hmm.
excited about the direction that we're going into. Um, I have learned that in order to make five figures in business, you have to be focused. You have to be willing to work. To just start. In order to make six figures in business, you have to be willing to work hard. You can make seven figures in business and with just hard work. Well, I don't recommend it. In order to really make seven figures and sustain, you have to learn to build a team and delegate. In
Mm.
order to make eight figures in business, you really have to. It is a mental shift, and the eight-figure mark is it's team, it's delegation, but also you have to be willing to burn down the things that got you to six and really expand beyond that. There's like a
Mm.
shift toward I don't know how to describe it, like to make that eight figures. You almost everything you've learned about business, you have to relearn totally. Like
Mm.
it's just not true to get to a solid eight figures regularly. And what I'm learning from eight to like nine, figures in business is that You actually have to learn to work less.
That's such a huge jump. I'm like, can't we just be like 8.5 figures,
Yeah, but I'm talking about
8.2
when, like that,
figures?
on your way. So as you're at
I
eight,
know.
but just, it's really, you have to learn to work less. And because if you are still hands on with everything, you will burn yourself
Mm,
out in 8, which I've done. I've made $10 million in a year, like hands on, hands on, hands on. It is impossible to sustain. That's why it was that 1 year. But we are on track to do that for next year. And I have not, I won't say I'm working way, way, way less because I had to learn, like, oh, there is greater strategy available. Like, instead of so much B2C, B2B, like, girl, a few of those contracts adds up to this, and
mm,
also two, I think 8 to 9 is network. You have to have access
mm,
to people that can put you in certain rooms where those types of numbers are. So that's really 8 to 9 is like, it's that network that you have
mm.
to grow. And so these are kind of like the lessons I've learned. Like, so I am not mad that I started the Budgetista as a personality brand. I'm just glad that, I have the opportunity to still be here to grow.
Yeah, I mean, just having come from FinCon, and I know so many of our listeners are growing their own, like they're listening to our show and they're in the real world, they're working 9 to 5, but they also have these ideas, these, personal brands of their own, and they go to FinCon and they're looking to nurture those. And I'm just thinking, like, having been one of the OGs
Hmm.
of that space, I think I'm definitely on the OG team for podcasting, but you were definitely one of the pioneers of the post Susie Orman, post Dave Ramsey,
Hmm.
internet based personal finance educator brand, to build. And it's good to get that perspective. And it's funny how you just answer the questions I was going to ask anyway. I was going to, like, what would you say to someone building that personal brand today, and any advice? And it feels like it's like that can be a huge asset if
Hmm.
leveraged the right way.
Yeah.
And I also hear that to get to that 9, those steps, it's like every step beneath that builds you up to the stage where
Yes.
networking can be so powerful. It
Yes.
doesn't necessarily happen unless you are, like,
Yes.
building strategically
Because the
over
budget needs to
time.
lets me go into those rooms. Like, let's
Yeah.
be clear that if I had not started, in that way, it's like, who you, so no, I'm not mad at that Tiffany using her personality, that I am allowed
Mm.
to go into these rooms because people are like, oh, yes, yes, yes. I know, I've heard of you. And then it
Ugh.
allows you to do that work. But,
I
each
literally just got an
stage.
email today, Tiffany. I was going to forward it to you. It was like from a sponsor that my manager was reaching out to. And anyway, literally the email was, Mandi is smaller than most of the influencers we work with, so we're going to pass for now. And I was like,
don't,
but
don't
it's
worry.
true that your platform is an asset. And it's like, that's the drive to build, build,
Girl,
build. So
please let me
that,
tell you something. People still be hitting me up with it. We got $1,500. We ain't got no money. Like, I think I just let's be clear. Lovey had just did a post about this the other day. She was like, if you want me to speak at your conference and you talking about you got $5,000, please don't reach out. That is very common. I get reached out to 4 or 5 times a week, and I would say 80% of the budgets are under $5,000. So the audacity is still
mm,
brewing. Like, it's the girls are like, just saw you on today's show. So for $2 and some peanuts, could you come out? And so I don't want anybody to feel bad that still happens. And, I'm just like, obviously we're
oh,
like,
even with the massive
yeah,
platform that you
please. I
have.
don't,
Yeah.
and I will say this because I have a mentee. She has a massive, massive, probably like 10 times the size of my platform. And guess what? She is, and I had told her this when I met her 2 years ago. I said, girl, I know right now you're having a good time. I can see you having a good time. Slow down and build the thing that's going to take over when you don't want to dance for a dollar anymore because you're not going to want to. She's like, oh, no, no, no. I want to get to $20 million. I said, before you get there, I promise you're going to burn out. And if you don't have that thing in place, then you're going to have to build that thing during burnout. She didn't listen because she's young in her 20s. And so now she's building during burnout of building the thing that will take the place to make the money because she doesn't want to dance for a dollar. And so if there is one big piece of advice I can tell to business owners who are building personality brands is to, build your personality brand, but save 20% of your energy to build the thing, build your tool, your product, your resources that you're going to have in place when you want to take a step back. Because low key, the Literature Academy slash Get Your Money Plant makes more than the Budgetnista. And so and that's intentional because I can sit down a little bit and be like, that's all right. The Academy makes more than enough to pay our bills here. You see
Mhm.
what I mean? So I have my own resources and products and services that I have that don't involve Tiffany that makes more than Tiffany, but that's intentional. And then I use Tiffany to kind of like showcase the fact that you can purchase these other things from us. And so just that has saved me when I was away for almost a year when Jarrell passed away, and the
Mm.
business still hit their multi seven figure mark because it didn't necessarily need me. Now, did we lose some money because I wasn't here? Yes, but we had more than enough to pay our bills because we had those in place. So keeping that in mind, that you should be building two types of businesses simultaneously. Like Mandi does that. It's like, yes, you have,
Mandy's
you know,
doing that.
doing that.
I'm
Yes.
in it. Okay.
Yes. No, but that's
Ooh.
great though. Most people don't. Honestly, Mandi, I don't think you realize that you are a unicorn in that. Most people just build the
Mm.
personality part. Look at me. You go viral all the time. All that stuff is great. But you also have, your service available. Most people don't have a service on the back end you
Mm.
know? And so, and even, I don't think you even realize like you are going to get to a place if you continue and you want to continue with your business that you will realize there are B2B available because people are going to want your ability to teach people to negotiate is going to be in schools. It's going to be
Mm.
like Rutgers is going to be like, oh, Mandi, could you? Yes, yes, I have. And then it won't be Mandi teaching it. One of your Mandi money makers, you'll be able to slide her some money, and she was going to go teach your thing, and you will have a curriculum because that's what's happening with Budgetnista now in these schools, and you'll start to realize, oh, but
Mm.
you can't get there until you do what you're doing now, which is look at me, I'm Mandi, I'm the money maker, da, 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 and then you build this trust that you're able to then create a package that does not involve you. And so that's where I am now, where I dispense teachers to go teach the Budgetnista method in school. And I'm like, make sure you take pictures and send them to me. But that doesn't happen with what you're, so you are exactly where you're supposed to be and further along than most. I told you that it took me years to get to where you're getting now because I didn't know like, oh, I should be building something. I didn't build the Literature Academy till like year 7 of the Budgetnista. Year
Mm.
7. You started building both simultaneously. So yeah.
Well, I had a bit of a benefit getting to get warmed by your glow and your light all these years.
Make it
It
seem like
was
I pee on you, warmed by my glow.
wait. Why you always that is not at all what anyone was thinking about. I was gonna go back to the seedling. I'm a seedling and I wasn't your light helped me grow. My God. I thought I was gonna like cry during this episode, but it's just been so fun.
Oh,
I
I love you,
love
Mandra.
walking down. I love you too. I forgot to be sad because I was having so much fun. That's
Yeah.
Brown Ambition in a nutshell. But I'm glad this was fun to look back and to just like
Yes.
walk down and you know, I know you did most of the enlightening and sharing, but really I just wanted to acknowledge how for how many years you have been gracing us with this wit and wisdom and honesty and candor and transparency and how um, it's going to be so different without you. And I'm just so grateful for the time that we have had together.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, did I really take it? Did I really like, enjoy it and live in the moment and recognize how special it was at the time? And I'm like, yeah, I knew it was special all along.
Mm.
But still, it's nice to go back and reflect.
Yeah. And there's
Hopefully that
still more
wasn't
to
too
come.
painful for you.
No, it was great. Honestly, like
Raggedy underwear.
you know me, I don't mind talking about all the
Not to
things.
mention the pandemic, the
I
Black Lives
know.
Matter movement,
Girl,
like the life we have
I
lived.
know we have really lived. Like one day when the aliens come
Mm,
and they're gonna be like, a snapshot of Black brown life. You understand? They're like,
yeah,
oh, yeah, for real. Like
truly.
we have this amazing cross section of where you can just see growth.
Hmm.
So I'm just really grateful, and I have enjoyed it here. And it was not my intention. It just was like, it's it's time because I can feel it, like it's time, and I'm
Mm,
not really sure why. There's like nothing queued up. I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, and I'm just listening, and I've learned not to listen is way worse.
yeah.
um, and so, but I'm excited because it's also the Brown Ambition continues. That part was very clear to me. It wasn't like I'm leaving and it closes. That was always like, no, no, no. That I'm transitioning and Brown Ambition transitions forward. And so I'm excited to see like what you do with it. I'm
What a
excited to get
perfect segue into our next episode.
yes.
You guys stay tuned because part 2 of this 4-part series, Tiffany's Eras, Tiffany's Legacy, we're going to be looking forward and
Mhm.
actually taking some time to think about what could be next and answer some of y'all's questions, even if we can't
Mm.
answer it fully, and just talk about the future. But this was fun looking backward,
Yeah.
and how it'll inform our next steps together. So, BA fam, we love you so much.
Yes.
Take some time to leave a review. If you've already left one, just update it. Let Tiffany know how much you love her.
Oh.
You can DM us at Brown Ambition Podcast on IG. You can email us your well wishes for Tiffany, Brown Ambition Podcast at gmail.com.
.com.
.com. I'm glad Expedia never sued us. All right, BFM. Bye.
Bye.